Hi, my name is Jane Morton Galetto, and I work with Citizens United to protect the Morris River. We usually call ourselves See Morris River. And I'm here at the Waltman Park, which is part of the Morris River Bicycle and Walking Trail in Millville, New Jersey. And our organization gives tours of the trail. And so we want to do a little bit of virtual touring and pique your interest in coming out here and enjoying the beauty of the river and of this wonderful walking trail that was done by the City of Millville and the Green Acres program. So come with me. One great thing about the hiking trail is it's handicapped accessible. So if you're in a wheelchair or one of your family members is, this is a place you can come and stroll and really enjoy. These three white pines are actually very significant here in Millville and are known as the Aragon Forest Memorial. Originally, there were over 100 of these trees planted here in the park, and these trees were in honor of the veterans who lost their lives during the 1920s. So when you pass these three beautiful white pines, you can think of their significance historically. It's not uncommon to see people fishing the banks of the Morris River here along the park. The Morris River has a 6-foot tide, and it brings in many different species. In the spring, we have runs of striped bass and also alewife, which are herring, and the perch are really quite a treasured possession here on the Morris River, especially when they have roe. So this fellow's trying out his luck. This is one of the many bridges that traverses various little creeks and streams that run to the Morris River along the Morris River Bicycle and Walking Trail, and they offer some really great vantage points for viewing things. On our map of the walking trail, you'll also notice the distances between the various bridges, and this is for those of you that might like to come out and get some exercise in and kind of keep track of the various distances that you've gone. This is an example of a wetlands tidal habitat. Presently, the tide is almost at its highest point, meaning about 6 feet of water is flowing in the deepest parts, and then when the tide goes out, this will be a mud flat. This is an example of an osprey nesting platform. These were used to help recover the osprey populations in New Jersey. The osprey populations had plummeted due to DDT, and thanks to our efforts and other volunteer efforts, they've come back. CU monitors over 40 of these nests. This particular nest has never been used. It does give us an opportunity to use it as a teaching tool about the osprey, but we think that it hasn't been used because there's eagles that often nest in the park, and we suspect that great horned owls are also using the area. We're here on the banks of the Morris River at a very historic spot, the place where Millville Manufacturing made their goods. Millville Manufacturing was the precursor to Wawa. So if you've enjoyed a coffee or a sub at Wawa, it all started right here. This is the powerhouse that powered the factory. There were a couple factories here. One was a cotton mill, and the other one used bog iron from Bud's furnace over on Cumberland Pond to make their goods. The bog iron was bought here in pigs on the schooners, dropped off here at the property, and then made into these beautiful iron gates and fences that you see on the adjacent Columbia Avenue. And if you've ever been to New Orleans and you've noticed those Spanish balconies with the ironwork gates or the ironwork type fencing, and that would be made right here at Millville Manufacturing. We're just south of the Union Lake Dam. New Jersey's second largest lake is formed by Union Lake Dam. 950 acres of water are held back by the dam. And as we pan across this beautiful bank and come up to the turn on the river, this is an area where many of our members have seen otters. So you want to pay attention because you never know what you might see when you're out here on the banks. This is New Jersey's largest basking turtle, the red-bellied turtle, that have probably just recently come out of Burmation, which is a type of hibernation for a reptile. We're seeing 30 lined up here basking in the sun, probably really enjoying it after a winter down in the cold mud. Here in this wetland area, we see a stand of typha, commonly called cattails. And these cattails are really important to a species that you probably know very well. It's the ruby-throated hummingbird. The bird comes in and it takes these soft materials off the top of last year's cattails to line its nest. I've seen them do this and it's really interesting. They actually start by loading up the tip of their beak with the material, and as they keep taking more, it pushes back what's in the tip of their beak to the back of their beak until they look sort of like they're carrying a huge load of miniature hay in their mouth. It's quite neat, and without the typha or the cattail, the hummingbirds wouldn't be able to line their nests, with the exception of they also use spider webs. This is an excellent example of another one of the habitat types that exists here along the trail. This is a hardwood swamp. It's really important. A number of trees like to have their feet wet, and most animals don't make use of just the wetlands or just the uplands. They usually need a variety of habitats. It's springtime here on the trail, and so a lot of the trees are not leafed out, but a tree like this can really be identified by its bark. This is actually a persimmon, and it gets this heavily checkered bark, these little separate squares that are very indented and textured. And the persimmon has a fruit that a great many animals like to eat, especially opossums and raccoons and various birds. This enormous white oak is something we don't see that often. Most trees in our area were harvested during the turn of the 20th century, and they were used for either building materials or for cord wood to burn the flames that powered the Industrial Revolution. So a big tree like this is unusual to see. It's a beauty. This tree was probably a marker tree for the various paths that ran through this park originally, and to a place where people could meet, because it would let you know, almost like a signpost, that this was an important spot. One of the best parts of visiting this park, especially throughout the seasons, is that each season brings with it different plants. Here we're seeing Eratum aquaticum, or what's oftentimes called golden club. It's one of the first and earliest little bits of color that we get to see in the spring in our wetland species. And right here on one of the little bridge crossings, it's been coming up annually with predictability. So it's something we always get to enjoy. We hope you'll come out on the Morris River bicycle and walking trail with a friend or your family and enjoy the many things that there are to see here. At Citizens United, we put together a map that's both a brochure and a map. It introduces you to the history and the habitats of the walk. We think you'll really enjoy that. And if you'd like to keep track of some of the species that you see, we also have special checklists. We have one of the mammals, reptiles, and amphibians, and another one of birds. So we hope you'll come out, enjoy the walk, and then join some of our naturalists on some guided walks. Our naturalists are going to be doing some virtual walks, and we hope you'll take those and watch them while you're at home, so that when you come out with your family, you can enjoy some of the things that you've seen and heard from the naturalists, both online and hopefully soon in person. Thank you, and have a great day.